Okay, I've been involved in education and in quality control for the last 40 years in the work that I've done. I worked for a major Swiss company in developing test samples for the likes of the American Bureau of Shipping, Lloyd's, and that sort of high-tech specifications in relation to quality control. And I was looking at the problem of young kids shooting arrows, and I was very, very concerned that the way they were shooting them, underspined arrows, overspined arrows, long arrows, all sorts of stuff that were conducive to somebody hurting themselves. In England at the present time, pure carbon arrows are not allowed to be shot by some clubs on municipal sports grounds because they can't find them. So what I've done is I've got this video going with young Sammy. So what I'm trying to explain to him is I'm trying to explain to him what the designated numbers on the arrows are, how he can choose the arrows, to look at the specification in relation to the spine values and that sort of stuff, to educate himself and all that type of thing. But what I found is that the problem with carbon arrows is you can't find them. So what you can do is you can actually make them. This piece of aluminium foil, it weighs nothing. It doesn't even register on the gram scale. So what you do is you put it into it like that, into your arrow, push it down, and then push in here like so, and you can push that down into the middle of your arrow with a designated mark on your ramrod. Okay, and then you can do another one. And you have to get the that's better. Yeah. You've 4 inches in the middle, you've 4 inches in here, and you'll have 4 inches on that end. So with a metal detector, you'll be able to find that arrow in the ground. It does nothing to the arrow, causes no problem to it, but yet you can find it. Same thing in field archery. You know, kids using, or young people, or anybody using underspined arrows, particularly dubious arrows that come in from the likes of China, that there's no quality control on them. There's lots of good quality control arrows made by reputable companies, and they're the ones that you should be buying. And if you're going to buy arrows, it's not advisable to buy them online off second-hand arrows, because you can have major problems on that in relation to cracking in the arrows, and with the result you can carbon arrow go through your hand, you're in major trouble with it. So the best thing to do is to go to somebody that knows what they're doing about arrows, get the right specification, and then educate the young lads into how to read charts, how to understand what the designated numbers are on the arrow, and they can make sound selections of what they're going to use. So it's all part of the education program. As I say, I've been in the education business for 40 years, in quality control for 40 years. And it's really important. So what will happen if somebody if they shoot an arrow on a municipal sports ground and somebody gets injured? How will the insurance, what you call it, cover that? There's already problems in England. So the insurance company will look at what's going on in England, and they'll ask you all sorts of questions. So legislation should be put in that they have an arrow that can be found by a simple thing, by putting tin foil into the arrow. It doesn't affect the arrow, or the manufacturers can come along and they can create an arrow by using iron powder in the resin mix, which makes the arrow conductive. But it's a very, very simple thing to do that, and everybody's safe then. You can use the arrows all over the place. Again, spine, looking at the spine, you know, it's very important that you go to a reputable shop to buy your arrows. You get good advice on it, that you're not using a bow, an arrow that's going to be underspined or going to cause you problems, break or cause you problems, particularly with compounds. So the video is about me and John Power trying to educate this young man on how to select arrows and use the mathematical formulas. Thanks. Bye-bye. Basically what we're going to teach is we're going to try and teach you, the mathematics in relation to understanding the point weight of an arrow. A lot of juniors, they don't do that. And the reason why I'm going to teach you that is because you're as bright as a button. And you're number one. And I'm as bright as a button, and John is even brighter than the button. John went to what you call it, the Bright as the Button University in the Upper Unpopo with me. And he got his button now was only like this size of a short button, and my button was that size. Well, that's it. But I know your button is about that size as well. That's why we're going to. We've no problem in teaching you that.
Yeah.
So you okay? So John's going to explain that to him. Okay, John, you're on next, and he'll give you a demonstration on how to do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what we're going to look at is on the arrow is how much of the weight is in the front of the arrow, and that's going to determine how it flies through the air. So the heavier it is, the quicker the nose will drop when it's in flight. And the way we do that is we have to find the point of balance, which should be about
Move over a little bit to the side now, there you are now.
there. See, the arrow is just balanced there. And then what we do is we measure the total length of the arrow, which I think we measured this one at 29.5 inches. Yeah, 29.5 inches. And then what we do is we mark this one earlier, so we have a mark on the balance point there, and we have a mark on the center point there. And we measure the distance between them 2 points, and we get 3.5 inches. Okay. So then what we do is we use this formula here. So we say 3.5 inches divided by 29.5 inches. So the distance between these 2 points divided by the total length, and we multiply by 100 to get a percentage. And we calculate this one at 11.86%. That means that the balance point is 11% of the total length in front of the centre.
Okay.
That means this is front heavy.
Yeah.
So the bigger that number is, the more front heavy the arrow is, and the faster it'll fall in the air. Because when you shoot the arrow, it's going to travel in an arc. So you want the nose to dive with the arc. So if you have a compound where you don't have as much of an arc, you don't need as much of a front heavy arrow.
And on a recurve you do. You need that. So you have to understand that, so that when later on when you're going to tune your bow, you're going to understand the parameters in relation to point of balance and all that sort of stuff. And a lot of juniors don't do that. You know, we had, you know, one of the best junior I ever had was a little guy, David O'Brien. He was, you know, young fella when he started off. He's a man in his 40s now, but he was one of the best juniors I ever had shooting at that. He was brilliant, and he became very famous. Have a look at that, Sammy. That's him for the 1992 Olympics, right? Where they used him as when they were producing the stamps for the 1992 Olympics. They used his profile on the envelopes, so he's very famous. Yeah, that's because I was coaching, and he was as bright as a button, just like you. See, so there you are. But his dad, you know, his dad was very, very, very. You know, I said to his dad, "Look, Willie, your son has great potential." The same way as I told your father, you know. And I said, "Okay, will you buy him a new bow?" And Willie paled at that, you know, because he had to spend money, you know. But anyway, we convinced him, and I actually told him the same coaching as I told you about doing a hissy fit in the supermarket. So what you do is you lie on the ground just before the checkout, and you scream and roar, "I want a new bow, I want a new bow," and that's how you get it. But anyway, Willie said, "How much is it going to cost me?" And I said, "Well, you can't put a price on talent," I said.
Yeah.
So anyway, he decided he'd do it. And he opened his wallet, and there was an infestation of money mutts all over the place, and it took me 250 camphor balls to get rid of the mutts. Now when your dad done the same thing, it was 350 camphor balls to stop the infestation of the money mutts. So you get the idea.
Yeah.
what I had to go through to get, you know, David up and going as one of the top shooters. Now, there's nobody has ever come near his scores as a junior. Okay? So he's very, very good. But there's another fellow then we had was Maxwell O'Keefe. He came in and he was a junior as well. And he was, you know, he wasn't a bad little archer at the start, but he hadn't got a fair idea. But now he's one of the top archers in the country, you know. And he went off to America to shoot in America and all that sort of stuff. And he done very well. And I asked his mother one day, "Do you miss Maxwell?" And she said, "Who?" Well, he was in America. So you get the idea. So he done very, and his uncle over there was looked after him, and you know, when he was in America and that, and he went down to see all the top shooters and things like that. But he was a very, very good shot as well, you know. Then we had some of the girls who were very good shots as well. We had Carol Bryar's daughter, Megan, and we had Sharon Moore from the great compound shooter. And they were all national champions. Most of them were all national champions. You know, David O'Brien was national champion. Andrew Lyons was here today, a compound shooter, and when he was a young guy, like 16, around the same age as you, 14 and 15. His scores still stand at the moment for a 3 spot. You know, nobody as a junior has ever beaten the scores. You know, so that's why we want to teach you how to do all this type of stuff, so you can get a kind of knee. Because you, as I said before, your family doesn't believe you though. You have massive potential. You know. Get the idea?
Yeah.
So what do you think of that now? Do you understand that now?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
So
bigger
what,
the percentage,
yeah,
the more.
you do.
And,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and then what you're going to do is you're going to go and tell your teacher that in school. And what are you going to say to her? And she doesn't understand that, and you say to her, that's a conundrum. Okay? And then you ask her, if she doesn't understand that, ask her, if an elephant was sitting on a bun, what would that be? And what would that be?
A conundrum.
A conundrum, exactly. So you got the idea. But you're not supposed to laugh when you're saying that to her. You've got to be very, very serious. So what do you think of that? So what do you think of the humour of that? Do you think it kind of puts you in a good humour?
I don't think it would put the teacher in a bad humour.
But you want to be popular, don't you? You know. What do you think, John?
Yeah.
Would you think that'd be a bad idea?
No.
No. Okay. Well, that's the idea. Okay. So you know what that is? That's a spine tester.
Okay.
So John will explain to you exactly what the numbers on the arrows mean. Do you know what they mean on the arrows?
No. Is it
Okay. Well, say if you take an aluminium arrow, okay, somebody's done a bit of damage on that one. You know, the first 2 numbers are the outside diameter, what they call the OD, and the second 2 numbers is the wall thickness, how thick the wall is. Now they do it different on a carbon arrow. It's basically done on a spine tester. So you have 300s, 400s, 500s, even up to 1000. That's the deflection rate based on the calculated weight weighing the arrow down.
When you put that on, there's a set distance between these 2 posts, which is usually about 28 inches, and then you put the arrow on, and then put this on, and zero that out. And you put your weight on. We're actually getting there is 0.43, so that'd be 0.43 inches. That's after dropping over the 20 inch.
But you measure out the difference between a carbon arrow and an aluminium arrow. You know, you have to kind of learn those things, what the numbers mean, so that when you're going to choose arrows, you know exactly what you're going to look for. So what the deflection rate would be on the arrow when you're going to tune your bow and things like that. You know, that makes sense to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. You find that interesting?
Yeah, it's interesting.
Well, it's not a conundrum now, is it?
No, it's not.
Is it,
It's not conundrum.
Is it conundrum, is it?
No, no.
Okay. You know, your dad thinks I'm mad. Huh? Yeah, so you get to know all about those things. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
You know, it's clear as muck.
Clear as mud, yeah.
So what we'll do now is we'll go and we'll do a bit of shooting. Is that all right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's great. Do you remember when we started off we were working on the balance, and how your balance and your stance, you understood your stance, and the natural form of your front arm, and what you've got to do is you have to let the bow do the work. So you don't want to be using any muscles, so pulling your shoulders down or anything like that at this stage. You know, you've got to think of your feet and going in, as I taught you before. So we're going to bring a new system into it. What you're going to have to do now is you're going to think of your shin and your knee and your shoulder. So you're going to keep the knee in line with the shoulder and the shin in line with the knee in relation to taking up the shot. And then you take a position on your front arm, right, and you stretch into the shot. You balance off like I was teaching before. But before you do that, you've got to look at your fingers. And the fingers are very, very important at this particular stage. You've got to get the string into the first grooves of each finger. Okay? If the elbow is too high, it makes you pull on the bottom finger. So you've got to understand where your fingers are in relation. Otherwise you get the flexion of the arm. If your elbows on your drawing elbow is too low, it tends to push on the.
So you want to have the same tension.
You have to have the same tension on all the fingers as you know, the thumb is very, very important, and the little finger is important, because the little finger and the thumb will influence the three fingers. If the thumb is tense, you're going to have a problem. So you've got to keep the thumb out of the way, which you have a little bit of a tendency to keep the thumb up. So you need that part of the hand under your chin at that stage. And the little finger relax, because then that will relax the three fingers. So it's really important that you pay a lot of attention to the hooking when you come in. You're also going to pay a lot of attention then to the shoulder position and as you lift up. Then what you want to do is you want to let the bow do the work. So you can't lie back and on the other. You've got to stay in position, lift up. And the best way of when you draw up into the shot is aim off slightly to the left. So up in around, we say, the blue and the black. Just aim off slightly into the left. As when you come in onto the shot, your arm moves across and you're in near enough to the center of the bow. Instead of having to try and fiddle around trying to get it, let the bow bring and the sight bring into position by placing it in the preordained position. Slightly left is the best way of doing it. So you get the idea. So you do a bit of shooting in that now and see how it goes. Now remember, do your warm up. It's very important to do that. Move your stance back a little bit. A little bit too. How long is it since you shot?
Like practice? Yeah. A week, a little bit more than a week.
You've done a little bit off on your stance. A little bit too. Yes? But I think you need to be more into it. Yes? That feels that more comfortable.
Yeah.
Okay, just watch. Right. Make sure you get up onto the point of the clicker. Now watch it. Now your back elbow is in good shape. Now hold strong on the front shot. Now watch your breathing and hold your core. Good. And right up onto the point. And right up onto the point. Now squeeze through on your back. Okay. And you held your bow arm up around your top. What do you think? Good. Good. And watch your core. Your core there, isn't it? And don't lie back. Keep the weight on the front of your feet. Lead with your shoulder on your elbow and bring it around and come up clean onto the clicker. You don't be leaving yourself short on the clicker. And that's because your arrows are a little bit short, so it makes it hard. That's it. Up onto the point, hold steady. Lovely. You're breaking a little bit across the end. What I want to do is stretch a little bit more. Okay? So you're not getting on the front arm, so you're not getting the 50-50. You're not pushing enough on the front arm. So I want you to push a little bit more on the front arm. So to even the draw up. So 50 on the back and 50 on the front. Okay? Nice steady now. Now remember what I told you about the front arm. Relax and relax your back hand. Relax your hand. Don't have your that's it. Now right up on top. Now stretch with your front arm now. Stretch down. Is that better?
Yeah, that's not feeling.
Yeah. Felt that better. We'll do the same thing again. Now remember what I told you. Hand position first into the ball. Okay? And the 3 fingers. Now hook your fingers and make sure you've got the 3 fingers evenly spaced on the two on the bottom and 1 on the top. But they're into the first grooves. And then that you have your arm set and your hand set on the ball at a 45-degree angle, like which I taught you before. Now hold your core and don't lift your chest as you're pulling in. And lead with your elbow and your shoulder to get your scapula working. Okay? And off you go. And keep that bow arm up all the way. Don't drop your bow arm. Beautiful. Okay? And make sure you're relaxing your bow hand so that you let the bow jump out of your hand. Okay? Remember we taught you that. And watch your breathing again. Take it nice and easy. Okay? Don't go back on your heels. As you're pulling, don't go back on your heels. Strong on the front. Try and get an even push and pull. And there's nothing wrong with that. Where did that go?
Right in the centre.